I found Elma's old diary by accident. It was taped under the drawer of her childhood desk, hidden like it contained poison. And maybe in a way it did. I know I shouldn't have opened it. But I did. On the very first page, in her teenage handwriting, were the words that cracked something deep inside me. Having this fool follow me around is repulsive. She was talking about me back then. Thought our story was sweet, innocent. We grew up on the same street, went to the same school. Thought I became a part of her life because she wanted me there, because she cared. But reading those words, I realized I was wrong. I remembered every moment I'd proudly followed her around, thinking I was winning her over with kindness and sincerity. I had no idea I was the punchline in her private jokes. Now she's my fiancé. I just sat there, holding that diary, reading on page after page as the mask she wore around me began to crumble. Exposed by her own words, Mom says if I smile at Benjamin more, he'll do anything I ask. I dare Deanna to flirt with him. He actually thinks she likes him. So gullible, it's sad. Sometimes I wonder if Philip would get jealous if I dated Benjamin. That would be hilarious. Each line hit harder than the last. I didn't feel anger right away, or sadness, just silence. The kind of silence that makes the room feel colder. The kind that settles into your bones and whispers, you're alone. About 15 minutes later, Elma walked in, smiling like she always does, carrying a slice of cake she'd baked to surprise me. She kissed my cheek and told me she loved me. I didn't say much, just, kept the diary hidden behind my back, because I wasn't going to yell.
What?
I wasn't going to beg for answers. It was going to find out exactly who she was, and what else she thought was funny, and then I'd return the favor. My name is Benjamin. I'm 24. People say I'm the kind of guy with a good heart, stable. It's the kind you marry. And I used to be okay with that. I didn't need to be flashy or admired. I just wanted someone who made the world feel a little less lonely. For most of my life, that someone was Elma. We met when we were 9. I still remember walking home from school in the rain, her umbrella tilted too close to her own head, leaving my shoulders soaked. She'd laugh and say sorry, but never adjust it. And I'd smile and say it was fine. Even then, I liked her. More than I probably should have. She was the kind of girl people noticed. Smart, beautiful, the kind of presence that lingered. Even after she left the room, I was never the center of attention. Just the guy beside her, carrying her books, helping with her homework, quietly listening while she talked about things I didn't understand. I thought that meant I was important to her, but I didn't know the difference between being needed and being used. In high school, she'd tug my sleeve to walk her to class even when Philip, the guy everyone secretly and not so secretly wanted, was nearby. I thought she picked me, but sometimes I'd catch the way she looked at him when she thought. I wasn't paying attention. I told myself I was imagining it. Then there was Deanna, her best friend. She was warm, genuine. She laughed at my dumb jokes, asked me about my day, even brought me chocolate milk when I skipped lunch. I used to wonder why someone like her wasn't the one I fell for. But my heart was already too far gone. Elma never actually told me she liked me. Not really. But she didn't need to. She smiled just enough, leaned on me just enough, gave me just enough to make letting go impossible. So when she finally agreed to date me in college, it felt like I'd won something huge. We'd been together almost 3 years when I proposed. She cried, or it looked like she did. She said yes, held me so tightly I thought maybe her heart was finally beating for me too. But now I wonder if those tears were something else. Guilt, fear, shock that I actually meant it. We live together now. A modest apartment, 2 bedrooms, though we only use one. I still do most of the chores. She does most of the talking. I make dinner most nights while she scrolls through her phone on the couch. Sometimes I just watch her trying to convince myself the love in her eyes is real. But that illusion shattered when I read the diary. It's not just what she wrote at 16. It's that nothing since then really contradicts it. I just never saw it. I was so desperate to be loved. I never asked if it was real. After that day, I started noticing the little things, how her smile changes when I walk into the room. How she lights up more at a text than when she sees me. How her phone is always face down, always locked. And how I love you comes out of her mouth like a reflex, empty and automatic. Still, I thought, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm being paranoid. Until one night, when she was in the shower, I glanced at her phone. A group chat notification popped up. Operation Benjamin. She doesn't use my name for anything else. That's when I knew. This wasn't just teenage immaturity. This wasn't some old phase. This was still happening. I haven't told her I know. Haven't told anyone. Not even Deanna, who still messages me sometimes like she actually misses me. But I'm watching now. Every word. Every laugh that seems a little too forced. Every time someone mentions Philip and she reacts before she catches herself. I'm paying attention because this time, I won't be the fool. This time I'll play the role they expect: kind, dependable, harmless, perfect man. And when the time comes, I'll be ready. Right up until the moment I decide they've had enough. They say love makes you blind. But heartbreak makes you see everything. And now I see everything. 3 days after I read Elma's diary, I came home to her humming in the kitchen, barefoot, wearing my hoodie like always. It should have felt sweet, comforting, familiar. But instead, it felt calculated. Every movement, every glance. Like part of some invisible script she'd been following for years, she looked over her shoulder and smiled. "You're early," she said, like she meant it. I kissed her forehead, said nothing. Maybe she noticed. Something was off, or maybe she didn't care. Dinner was steak, mashed potatoes, sautéed greens, my favorite. The kind of meal she only made when she wanted something. She told a story about someone at work, wearing too much perfume, and laughed. At her own punchline, I laughed too, but only on the surface. Inside, I was already planning my next move. "Elma's coming over tomorrow," she said between bites, almost too casually. "She wants help picking a dress for Philip's birthday dinner. Hey, can you believe he's turning 26? There it was again, Philip. Her tone was light, friendly, but not indifferent. Never indifferent. I nodded. "You'll come too, right?" she asked, smiling. "Don't leave me alone with Deanna and Philip." I met her eyes. "Of course. Why wouldn't I?" She smiled, like that meant everything was fine. "Good. You're my emotional support pillow," she teased. She'd called me that before. It used to sound sweet. Now it just sounded accurate. That night, after she dozed off on the couch, I pulled a blanket over her like I always did. Then I walked to her old bedroom, the one she used before we moved in together, and sat at her desk. I opened the drawer again. The diary was still there. I flipped to a random page. I wonder if he'd cry if I kissed Philip in front of him. Deanna thinks he would. She says Benjamin wears his heart on his sleeve. I think it's true. I closed the diary. The next day, Deanna came over around noon. She smelled like warm vanilla and peppermint. She hugged me tight, same as always, and whispered, "It's been too long." Let her hug linger. Played along. Elma lit up when she saw her. I rushed off to the bedroom laughing. Chattering about dresses and heels, I sat in the living room, staring at my phone, waiting. Then I heard it. Muffled, but clear enough. "Elma, but you think he suspects anything?" "Deanna, I don't know. He's too calm lately. Like he's watching everything." "Elma, maybe it's just work stress. He's always been slow to react." Laughter, silence. When they came out, everything was smiles and small talk. Deanna twirled in a dress and asked for my opinion. Elma teased me for being too polite. I gave it an 8.5. They laughed. I didn't. At Philip's birthday dinner, the place was dimly lit and overpriced. Elma sat beside me, hand resting lightly on my knee beneath the table. Across from us, Philip laughed like he was the star of the show. Deanna clung to every word. During dessert, Philip raised his glass. "To the people who've stuck around," he said, "and to those who will always be more than friends." Everyone clapped. Elma laughed. Deanna blushed. I took a long sip of wine. Later outside, we waited for our ride. Elma was shivering. I took off my coat and placed it around her shoulders without saying anything. Behind me, and I heard Philip murmur to Deanna not quietly enough. Still can't believe she's actually going through with it. Marrying Benjamin. She must really. Want to win this game? I turned my head slightly. Just enough for him to know I'd heard. His smile faltered for a second, then came back. Deanna looked like she wanted to say something, but she didn't. Elma's phone buzzed. She glanced at it quickly, her face unreadable. When she saw me watching, she smiled too quickly, too polished. That night in bed, she slipped her hand into mine. "You okay?" she asked softly. "I'm good," I whispered. But the truth. This wasn't a relationship anymore. It was a performance. And I was the only one still pretending not to know. I stopped looking her in the eye when I said I love you. It started to feel dishonest. Or maybe I was just tired of looking for a reaction that never came. Elma hadn't changed. She still curled up beside me, still asked how I wanted my coffee, still kissed me goodbye in the mornings. But now, none of it felt real. It wasn't that she stopped pretending. It's that I stopped believing. Some mornings, I'd wake up early just to watch her sleep. She looked peaceful the way people only do when they're innocent. Or when they think they've gotten away with something. And all I could think, was that one sentence, again and again. Having this fool follow me around is repulsive. I'd lost count of how many times I'd replayed that line in my head. Hundreds. Thousands. I tried to convince myself people change. Maybe somewhere along the way, she'd learned to love me. Maybe the performance had become real. But then she'd light up when Philip texted. Or I'd catch Deanna watching me with guilt in her eyes, like she wanted to tell me everything. But always stopped short, and I'd remember the truth. I wasn't paranoid. I was the joke, and they were still laughing. "Are you okay? Needy? Anything?" She asked once. I never answered. I didn't trust her, but I didn't hate her either, in some strange, twisted way. I think a part of me believed she regretted it, like maybe she hadn't meant for things to go that far. Maybe she got in too deep and didn't know how to get out. But that didn't matter anymore. Regret doesn't undo betrayal. Guilt doesn't. Fix what's broken. What hurt the most wasn't even the diary. It was the way they could all still smile in front of me. Laugh, joke. Like I wasn't standing there. Like I hadn't given them everything. I kept wondering, was there ever a day I wasn't being lied to? Ever a moment when I wasn't just some character in their play? So I started spending more time outside, pretending to work late, walking aimlessly, sitting in cafes, not even drinking the coffee, just watching people. Strangers, couples holding hands, wishing I had that kind of love, the kind that wasn't written in ink. Hidden in drawers and laced with mockery, they were laughing into their phones, real unfiltered happiness. The kind that makes your chest ache, even if you smile through it. I envied it more than I could ever admit. Every now and then Elma would ask, "Is something wrong?" Always with that light, careful tone, like she was testing the waters. And I'd shake my head. I'd say, that was always my answer, and she'd smile like that made sense. Like that was enough. She never asked twice. And that told me everything, because if she really loved me airily, loved me as, would have seen through it. She would have pushed, but she didn't, not once. Then came the night I opened our shared laptop. I was just looking for an old receipt, nothing more. But I found a folder. One she thought she'd deleted. It was called Drafts. Inside were half-finished messages, notes. A to-do list. Convince him to book the honeymoon before summer. Talk to Deanna about throwing a surprise party in case he gets suspicious. Make sure Philip doesn't text during dinner again. Almost got caught. I stared at the screen, fingers frozen on the keyboard. The silence in the apartment felt deafening. She wasn't planning a future with me. She was managing something. Like our relationship was just another level in some game she was trying to win. My love wasn't something she returned. It was something she used. I leaned back in the chair, hollow inside. I was numb, cold. It's a different kind of emptiness. The kind you feel when the person you love is still alive, still breathing, still smiling at you. But for all intents and purposes, they're already gone. but I wasn't ready to act. Not yet. I still needed to know one thing. Why? Why me? Why say yes to the proposal? Why keep the act going for years? What was the reason? A bet? A thrill? A twisted competition? I didn't need her back. I needed closure. I needed to hear the truth from her own mouth. I couldn't let go until I did. 2 weeks later, I came home early. I didn't tell Elma. I wanted to see her without the mask. The lights were dim. Music drifted from the bedroom. Some soft acoustic songs she only played when she was trying to relax or cover her voice. I walked quietly down the hallway, past the kitchen, past the empty living room. Years of trying not to wake her had made me move like a ghost in that apartment. Then I heard her laugh. Not the one she gave me, the polite one. No, this was warm. Light. Her door was shut. But her voice carried through. If he ever found out, I'd die of embarrassment. Then I heard Philip's voice. He won't. You're too smart for that. My hand clenched the doorframe. But I didn't move, didn't breathe. I feel guilty sometimes, Elma said. Quieter now. He's good. Benjamin's a good man. He's never done anything wrong. Then why are you still with him? Philip asked. Silence. Then a whisper. Because I want to see if someone like that can still break. The silence that followed felt endless. My chest didn't just hurt, tit burned. Not because it was a surprise, but because it confirmed everything I'd been too scared to believe. She wasn't stuck. She wasn't confused. She was enjoying this. I backed away like I'd touched something hot. I didn't say a word, didn't slam the door, didn't even close it. I just walked out the same way I came in, quiet, invisible. That night, I didn't go home. I sat in my car until 2 a.m., under flickering streetlights, trying to make sense of it all. I thought I'd felt numb before. But this was something else. And this wasn't just betrayal. This was cruelty. She was breaking me for fun. I drove across town to this old diner my mom used to take me to when I was a kid. I didn't order anything. I just sat there, watching people. People who didn't know someone like Elma existed. That night, I reread her diary. Every word, slowly, carefully, not as a victim, not as a man begging for answers, but as someone preparing to bury what was left of his hope. And then I saw a line I hadn't noticed before. If Benjamin ever stops loving me, it's because someone else has finally taught him how. I read it 3 times, and for the first time in months, I smiled. Because maybe she was right. Maybe someone would teach me how. Maybe she already had by showing me what love I send. The next morning, I made the call. She kissed me on the cheek before leaving and said, I'll be out late. Deanna wants to go shopping. We might grab dinner. Philip's helping her pick a suit for her dad. Always just enough truth to keep it believable. I nodded. Sounds good, I said. Offered too. Grab groceries on my way home. She smiled. Wrapped her arms around me, whispered, you're the best fiancé ever. Last time she'd ever say those words to me. As soon as she left, I picked up my phone and called Deanna. No answer. Tried again. She picked up. Hey, Benjamin, she said, her voice shaky. What's up? Can we talk? I asked, steady, in person. Somewhere quiet. There was a pause. I could hear the hesitation in her breath. Then the cafe near the park. Give me 30 minutes. I got there early. Sat by the window. Watched a couple arguing on a bench. 2 teens sharing fries. Laughing like the world hadn't touched them yet. I envied them for a moment, but I didn't want to be blind anymore. When Deanna walked in, she looked around nervously until her eyes met mine. She sat down, pulled her coat tighter, looked like she expected anger, blame, bitterness. I gave her none of it. Thanks for coming, said. She folded her hands, lowered her eyes. If this is about Elma, it is, I said gently, but not how you think. She looked up, confused. I'm not here to scream or accuse, I said calmly. I already know everything. The diary, the group chat, the games. Philip, I've seen it all. Deanna, I heard them. Her breath caught in her throat. I just want one thing, I continued. The truth. She stared at me for a long time. Then slowly, her shoulders dropped. I never meant for it to go this far, she said quietly. It started as a joke. Stupid game. Back in high school. Elma's always been like that. Testing people. Pushing limits. Aren't you? She hesitated. You were the only one who never pushed back. You just loved her. I stayed silent. She told me once that it made her feel powerful, Deanna whispered. Having someone like you wrapped around her finger, I told her to stop. I swear I did. But she'd just smile and say it wasn't serious, that she'd stop once she figured out what she really wanted. She already knew what she wanted, I said, voice low. And it wasn't me. Deanna looked away. She's with Philip now, added. She nodded slowly. Then again, when I asked, I said, she told me she thinks I don't know. Then why stay? Why keep pretending? Pain flickered in Deanna's eyes, because she didn't want to lose. Lose to who? To herself? To the idea that she could do all this and still be loved. Still win. Still end up with the prize. You were the prize, Benjamin. The proof. That she could lie, manipulate, betray, and still come out on top. Leaned back in my chair, let out a long breath. So that's all I was to her. I'm sorry, Deanna said. And I believed her. I tried to stop her, but it was never about love. It was always about control. There was a long silence. Then I said, I need your help. She blinked. With what? I want her to see me break, just once, so she feels like she's won. Her brows furrowed. You want her to believe you're still in the dark. I nodded. I want her to think I'm still the fool she can manipulate. Deanna hesitated. And then what? I met her eyes. Then I leave. And I won't leave quietly.